Hello and welcome to the second lesson in the Netvangelism 101 Masterclass, laying the foundations for explosive digital outreach in your church. As I said towards the end of that introductory video, that to maximize the fertile ground in the exploding digisphere, that you need to put some fundamental structuring in your church operations prayerfully if you want to have a sustainable digital outreach. We don't want to keep leaving souls on the table, and we cannot keep doing things the way we are doing it. I explained all of that in the first video, so I want to go straight to it. The first pillar you want to erect as part of structuring for evangelism outreach is you need to structure your ministry for digital outreach success. People do what we expect, not what we expect. If you don't put the enabling structure in place for digital outreach, it simply is not going to happen. You can't continue to do the what I call the fire brigade approach, where right now you just take a video, you post it on there. On Sunday morning, somebody posts something, or your media department is really your digital outreach department, and they shouldn't be. Your technical or media department is supposed to aid the ministry. The ministry is you and your ministers and your pastors. So you need to structure your ministry online for effective digital outreach. You can no longer do evangelism as an afterthought. The church must recognize it and have an accountability department for it, the same way you have a children department, the same way you have a child department, the same way you have a media department. There must be your ministry must structure itself to have an evangelism department. So it is easier said than done, because some of you will say, how do we do this? See, remember, when you are structuring your offline church, you actually tried to put in structure in place to make sure your children department grows, to make sure that your first time you get more first time attenders every Sunday. You put structure in place for people to go out there and invite people to church, right? You have a way of growing people in your church. You have believers class, you have all sorts of training that you are doing to grow members of the church. And I'm saying, if you are going to be serious about your digital outreach, you need to start looking about creating structures like that that will help your digital outreach grow, flourish, and reach as many souls as God intended for you to reach. Without structuring your ministry for evangelism, you are going to be leaving a lot of souls on the table for Satan. Your anointing is going to be underutilized online. And these things don't happen by accident. They happen. There's a reason why more people come to your physical church to begin with. There's a reason why people become tithers in your church. There's a reason why people attend physical events in your church. Why? Because you put the structures in place. You have a follow-up program. You have all of that. So same way, you need to erect, you need to structure part of your ministry for evangelism. That is if you want to keep the internet part of your church as an integral part of your physical church, as opposed to having almost a standalone internet parish that is run by a pastor and then reports to you as a senior pastor, or maybe you yourself want to start a whole ministry online that supports your offline. Whichever way works for me. In my own case, you may not be aware, we have the Cyber Embassy of Christ for All Nations. This is an all-internet church that God gave me a vision to share several years ago, but I was reluctant because I didn't want to pastor. I believe that my calling is to be a support for people, for pastors, for those who are doing the evangelism work. But something happened. Finally, in 2019, I think November, October, when I did an evangelism workshop, an all-day 8-hour workshop, where I was trying to teach pastors how they can actually structure and how they can use the internet to get more members, to grow their church, as well as to finance the kingdom agenda. And we had over 120 pastors, I think, several of them general overseers of small churches, senior pastors of themselves, and they were all there. They were attentive. They really loved the idea. But from discussing with them, I realized that their knowledge is so little. They want to do it, but they don't know what they need to do. And right there on the pulpit in October of 2019, I hear God tell me clearly, and sometimes I believe God spoke to me. Sometimes you get it wrong. I'm not going to fall into that trap and tell you that I'm sure 100%, but I know devil cannot tell me to go and start a church on the internet. There and then I felt God tell me that go and model one for them so that they have ideas what these things look like, so that when they want to start implementing it in their churches, they have a reference point. Before then, there was no reference point for an all-internet church. There are lots of churches who do stuff online. Yeah, they share their sermons. Some preach online. Some have banners there, but there is no coordinated, structured internet church that is really ministering to people when they are on the internet. That's how Cyber Embassy started. We're an all-internet church that ministers to people online while they are online. We don't do anything offline. We don't have a physical building. We don't ever plan to have a physical building. Everything we do on the internet, and we structured ourselves accordingly. So as you are watching this, you can use some of the stuff we've done to help create the ministry structure that you need to be effective on the internet, even while still keeping your offline church. Offline churches will never go away. Brick and mortar will never go away. But we are also witnesses to the fact that take the Anglican churches. There was a time the churches used to be full. They built all these big edifices in London, Nigeria, and all over the world where that can take thousands of people at a time. But many of them, if you go to their churches now on a Sunday, you probably will see I was in London. And so some of those churches, and it was amazing. You see a church that can take 1,000 people, maybe 30 people worshiping that Sunday. People have migrated out, mostly to Pentecostal churches and to other stuff. And the same thing is happening to some of our Pentecostal churches today. There are churches that used to be full to the brim, all of a sudden are declining on an alarming basis. Why? Because many people are now on the internet. There's so much distraction. Some people are disenchanted for various reasons. Church attendance across the board has been going down. That's reality, even before Corona. So it becomes imperative to go look for them because most of them are online. There are more people on social media on Sunday morning in your church than are with you in your physical church, your members. More of them are on social media on Sunday morning than those in Sunday with you. And it doesn't make sense for you to keep whining about it and complaining and telling them they don't love God. That's where they are. Your job as a pastor, as a minister, is to go reach them where they are. Jesus went to the marketplace because that's where the people are. He wasn't going to the synagogue because very few people were in the synagogues at that point. People were disenchanted. People were discouraged. People were just disgusted at the way church was being done then. They prefer to go to their marketplaces and go do their thing. So Jesus went to look for them there. So same way, we need to go look for souls on the internet because that's where they are right now. 3 billion souls on Facebook every day, doing one thing or the other. More people spend more time on the internet, on social media, than they spend with their husband, with their wife, with their Bible, with their children. So it's a no-brainer that we have to go reach to them. Many pastors were still skeptical. Some of them said I was being sent by the devil to go start an all-internet church. How can I dare say I want to worship my God online? How can I dare say I want to do a fellowship online? But now Corona came. I wish I can tell you that God showed me Corona before. I'm not going to claim that because God didn't show me that. But I know I had this strong leading to go set up the model internet church that every church, whether all online or physical church, want to use internet, can use. That's why I'm doing this. So we started up way back in December is when we started. December 19th is when we started our, what I call our preliminary meeting. And we also started figuring it out because we don't have a reference. We are the very first all full-fledged, all internet church where all the purposes of the church are being executed online with no physical building and no intention to get one, at least as far as I know. So there was really no reference. So we had to figure it out. We were doing meetings and praying and researching to start coming up with stuff. So we structured our church directly for the internet from day one. We have a worship directory. Remember the 5 purposes of a church that we got from the Great Commandment and the Great Commission. Great Commandment says, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul. That's where we got the worship purpose from. Love your neighbor as yourself is where we got the ministry purpose from. And then from the Great Commission, it says, go. That is evangelism, to go and tell people about the good news of Jesus. That is where we got the evangelism from. And then baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. That's where we got the fellowship, our purpose from. And then teaching them everything I've taught you. That's discipleship. So that's where we got the 5 purposes of a church from. And I'm a very strong believer that any Bible-believing church should actually also have these 5 purposes of a church. What the church is going to do is not something you sit down and start thinking. It's not business. It's not something you go and pray and fast and say, what should your church be about? Jesus told us, Great Commandment and the Great Commission. Those two things should direct how a church runs itself. So we structure ourselves along those 5 purposes. And then we have key departments represented here. And I want to show you what our structure look like before we start going to deeper into other parts of this. Look at this is the structure of the Cyber Embassy for All Nations. As you can see, we are structured like a full church in full blown. We have a board of trustees. We have a vision overseer, which is myself. We have a senior pastor. We haven't hired a senior pastor yet. I'm going to be selecting from one of these 5 people at the end of our first year of operations. That's what I told them. The first year of us being, then we're going to pick one of them, because I told them I don't personally see myself as a pastor for a long time. My job is to help pastors like you watching this, or ministers like you, do your job better. I don't function well as a pastor of a parish, but I'm modeling this so that it is easy for me to be able to help you or other people tomorrow by teaching them what we have done successfully, by learning what didn't work, what worked, and how they can do it. So we structure. All this is internet-based. We have our elders council. They have their own group. I'll show you in a minute, where they meet every day and discuss their own thing. And once a week, we'll have their meeting. We have a pastoral council for our pastors. We have a disciplinary council for where anybody needs to be disciplined, just like a church. We have a church administrator who is more like the head of the media in a regular church, right? Because he knows how to coordinate all our web portals, our IT, our portal maintenance, and all that stuff. And then reporting directly to the senior pastor, who reports to the vision overseer, are the 5 main purpose directors. You can call it department, you can call it divisions. We call our own directorates. So we have the e-worship directorate, e-ministry, e-evangelism, e-fellowship, e-discipleship, and I have pastors appointed for all 5 of them, all doing their stuff on the internet. So under the e-worship directorate, you can see we have the choir without walls. If you have ever watched our service, you see that we don't really have a choir located anywhere. But every Sunday, we have somebody else leading worship from anywhere else in the world. Right now, Omotola G is our lead worshiper for Cyber Embassy of Christ for All Nations. She did that song, Days of Netvangelism, that is trending online now, where we open the service with that, and every once in a while, she ministers to us from the studio of our house, from wherever she is in the world. We have Sunday services, obviously, every Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We have Morning Manna, which is so different programs that has to do with worship. Under ministry, we have different programs that has to do with ministry. E-follow-ups. Of course, we do follow-ups online. People who like our video for the first time, people who visited us for the first time, we have a structure in place for us to be able to get their data so that we can visit with them through chat on WhatsApp, through Facebook chat, through Telegram, wherever they came from. We have our e-benevolence, where we actually look for coupons and stuff that we can give to our members online to use to be able to get stuff for themselves. Again, it all takes creativity, and we're working on many of them now. Same way evangelism, same way e-fellowship, same way e-discipleship. As you can see, all the different departments under each of the 5 purposes, they are already represented. Now, I'm not going to tell you that in 3 months we have started executing all of this, but majority of it now are now in place. For instance, under e-discipleship, we have the e-class academy, where we teach people class 101, that is discovering church membership, for those who want to become full members of the Cyber Embassy. We did it inside a Facebook group. We've trained the first set of people. We're in this second level of training people who want to be part of our church. It's a 1-week training, 1 hour a day for 5 days. They have to come into a private group on Facebook, and that is where we take them through the salvation message, the way our church is structured, what is expected of them, the habits that we expect of them, and all that, everything that we teach in a physical church about how to be a member of our church. We teach it there. Then after that, we give them a certificate.